Indiana Pacers have signed James Johnson to a deal. And James Johnson's a guy who spent last year with the Brooklyn Nets. And some of you might not be a fan of James Johnson. 35 years old, was the 16th pick back in 2009. And he's from Cheyenne, Wyoming. Played at Wake Forest for a few years. And everybody remembers him for being, on the Bulls, the Raptors, and the Heat. But he's also played for the Kings, the Grizzlies, the Timberwolves. He had a comeback when he joined New Orleans after being waived by the Mavs, and then hopped on over at New Orleans 2 years ago in 2020 to 2021, and literally was cooking with gas. Okay, and he was traded actually with Wes Awundo for JJ Redick and Nicolo Melli. But man, he's over here now, and he was waived by the Nets back in April. And personally, I think James Johnson's coming into a situation where they also just added Langston Galloway as well, I believe it was, that they signed David Stockton, James Johnson, Benny Boatwright, Gabe York, had all signed with the Indiana Pacers, but I believe Langston Galloway was training. Yeah, Langston Galloway was also signed to the training camp roster. And I think James Johnson has a better chance of making it than Galloway. Johnson, yes, he played in 62 games last year, averaging 5.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, 2 assists. I think he's more of a locker room character. Galloway played 7 total games last year for the Nets and Bucks on separate 10-day contracts, and he participated with the USA's World Cup qualifying roster and averaged 11 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 2.5 assists against Puerto Rico and Mexico. But for me, the big thing is Kendall Brown's there. Benny Boatwright, David Stockton, Gabe York, they're probably not going to make the roster. More G League guys. James Johnson and Langston Galloway are going to be fighting for roster spots. Kendall Brown's good on the team. Kendall Brown, he was on Baylor. I got to see him play in person, and he's good. He's more of a glue guy. He averaged 10 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists on 58.5% from the field, 34% from 3, and 68.9% from the free throw line in 34 games, averaging 27 minutes a night for the Baylor Bears. But the Pacers were the only NBA team that had yet to fill one of its two-way contract slots. So even after signing Brown, the club has another two-way opening available. So they'll be fighting for that. But Johnson, like I said, he averaged, 20 minutes a night on that, 5.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 2 assists. And Johnson has, an offensive game that's relying on, hitting the occasional jumper and mainly just doing putbacks and slashes, but he's just a versatile athletic defender who can pass the rock and is a team guy, while Boatwright and Gabe York are guys who played for the Fort Wayne Mad Ants last year and look like good candidates to return to the team. Stockton played in the G League last year for the Memphis Hustle, but his rights were acquired by the Mad Ants last month, so he'll play for Fort Wayne. So now the Pacers do have a full 20-man roster, assuming that Johnson, Boatwright, York, and Stockton didn't receive guaranteed contracts. The team has 13 players on fully guaranteed deals, 6 on non-guaranteed, and Brown on a two-way pack. So we can probably expect more roster turnover in Indiana, since the club has reportedly reached, Exhibit 10 deals with other guys like Langston Galloway. So I think right now, Johnson and Galloway are fighting for the last 2 spots, probably with a few other guys. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see who ends up here, because for me, James Johnson's cool and all, but I really think he's just a locker room guy. But maybe I'm wrong, okay? I do think all of this is cool. I think Langston Galloway, he would have to be shooting lights out like we just didn't expect him. And then I still think that's such a big if, okay? I don't think we know. When was the last time Langston Galloway put up stats, okay, that actually mattered for an NBA team? I don't know, man. But yeah, so that'll be interesting. I want to hear your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of this whole situation? Did you want Langston Galloway or James Johnson or somebody else?